just hours, the New York versus Donald Trump trial is set to resume as the prosecution continues its historic case against the former president, which testimony from Michael Cohen's former banker. Nate Foy is live outside the state Supreme Court in New York with a preview of week 3. Nate, good evening.
Cohen's expected to testify at some point during the trial, but leading up to that, Trace, he's been live streaming on TikTok and talking about the case. He even appears to be accepting monetary donations from his followers. Trump attorney Todd Blanche already told the jury Cohen's a convicted perjurer and that he cannot be trusted, while prosecutors say Cohen previously lied to protect Trump, his former boss.
Let's bring in criminal defense attorney and federal litigator Vikas Bajaj. I mean, it's amazing, Vic, when you look at Nate telling you the story about Michael Cohen, who is raising money on this. He's actually going, and every chance he gets, he takes a swing at the former president, and he's raising money on it, and the gag order only involves Trump.
From everything we've seen, Trace, it didn't sound like Michael Cohen was the litigator of our generation. It looked like he was a fixer who was really willing to fly close to the sun.
Yeah.
The question here is, how much of Cohen's actions did President Trump know about? It would not be rare for a president or anyone to say, hey, you know what, I'd like to win this election. I'd like to save my marriage.
Yeah.
So why don't you do what you need to do to put this potentially false story to bed? And the question of raising an LLC and then having the money go through that is something that is typical. An LLC is a holding company, and there's nothing untoward here. The issue is Michael Cohen has been declared by both judges and by his own convictions to be a liar.
Right. If
you're a liar once, the jury in any case is entitled and sometimes directed to discount the testimony from that witness.
But it's interesting because an attorney named Norm Eisen with the Brookings Institution, he said this on ABC, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
If you pump money to individuals to kill negative stories to benefit a campaign, Ed Pecker testified, they agreed to that, that is a violation of law. People have been prosecuted for that, have pled guilty to that. That is against the law. And then if you cover it up with 34 false documents, you have 34 very serious felonies.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's on the left. He doesn't like Trump, but this idea where he wants Trump to be in Alcatraz, where you're talking about a case that was, they're struggling to elevate this to a felony, and you've got people saying, oh, they should put him in Alcatraz.
You know, I'll tell you what we call this in the world of trials. We call this trial psychosis. When you're in the heat of battle or you're commenting on a case that is in the heat of battle, your perspective tends to take over the way you think. It's sort of a groupthink scenario. Let's look at it that way. Now, this individual here has completely discounted the defense, which is it was not solely for a campaign benefit. It perhaps had a little of that sprinkled in, but perhaps 95% of the reason and the impetus and the push for it was just to save the brand and reputation, which is worth billions of dollars.
Right.
So it's disheartening to see an expert get on social media or a publication and close their eyes completely to what is a viable defense.
CNN said this about the judge, quoting here, Judge Juan Merchan needs to reverse his ruling, allowing Trump to be questioned about proven misconduct from other cases. If he doesn't, Trump could have an easy path to having a conviction in the case tossed out. What do you think?
Well, this is the Weinstein appellate decision that came down to say the forcible rape and the other actions that were presented in his jury that resulted in a 23-year sentence. That sentence needs to be reversed. Why is that? There are crimes a person is facing.
Right.
Well, you can't bring in dozens or 80 other instances to prove what we call propensity. If state of mind is an issue, yes, you can provide that information. But in these allegations, state of mind is not an issue. This also highlights, Trace, something we've talked about many times before, which is the public pressure on local judges.
Right.
State judges. Tie base does not go to the defendant, which is what the Constitution requires. It goes to the court of public opinion. And that's why you have appellate court saying, in the Weinstein case, for instance, you know, the judge was acting more as a prosecutor because that was a hot topic. That's exactly what we see in this case.
That's what they're saying. And Vikas Bajaj, thank you. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.